Do you see this big box behind me? Those are my books that I've literally been waiting 10 years to see. So we're gonna unbox them together. I have this clip of my very initial reaction, but I want to take the time to tell you about this story and show you in detail for YouTube in particular. So let's get into it. Okay, I am not sure how I will feel. I literally waited 10 years to see this. So. Oh my gosh. They look really cool. Wow, these are printed like really nicely. Like they're even brighter, I think, which is really exciting. And the back, and it's massive. Sam just rang the doorbell. It's absolutely massive. Yeah. Oh my god. That's crazy. I'll show the first illustration. Cute. Wow. That's really wild. Yeah. And it looks nicer than I was hoping. Wait, I want to see a special section. Oh, this is what I wanted to see. This like creepy stuff that's happening. Don't read it, okay? Oh my god. I didn't watch my reaction back, but I feel like I was awkward, like, cause it hasn't sunken in yet, you know what I mean? Like, it just can't compute in my brain that this is happening, but it's happening. Soul Survivors comes out on October 15th. It's currently available for pre-order. If you haven't seen on social media, there's also like a limited edition the Romance Era Bookshop is hosting, and so the reason why it's limited edition is because I'm putting these extra little goodies in it and it costs like the same price. So there's just a selection of those that you can grab. You can also order them to be shipped and I'll ship it to you through the Romance Era. Otherwise, it's in global bookstores. You can get it from me and I'll sign it for you. You can also come meet me in person sometime, which would be fun. Usually if you look online at your favorite bookstore, it should be there. In case you're hyped up about this book but you're not within the local area, I will be doing a virtual book signing that everybody here on YouTube can join in, and that's because it will be on this channel. If you order through my website or through Etsy, you'll be able to order it at this site below, and I will be signing it live on YouTube here at youtube.com/@riverkiteauthor. And I really want to show you all the details of the book. First of all, here is this giant box of copies of Soul Survivors, and this is what it looks like. Sorry, there's a little glare from the window. I'll try to avoid that. But I am impressed by how vibrant it turned out, because sometimes printers, I worry, will not be able to pick up pinks and reds very well. And this is what the back looks like. This is how the spine looks. Wait, I did it upside down. This is the spine. The glare is making it really challenging. Here, let me tilt you so I can tilt this. Yeah. Here's what it would look like on the shelf. Yeah. This is 424 pages. Oops, yeah, I don't know what happened. It's just like a complex story and there's a dual perspective, so I think that's why, but yeah. Look at first title page. You can already kind of see the next one. Then, oh, I just skipped over the next one. Second title page. And what I thought was interesting, it was like a happy accident, because I didn't think about this so clearly about the page itself being kind of like see-through when you use a lot of black ink on the other side, but the logo for my new imprint is like directly has a target on their back, which is like so perfect for this story. So yeah, as I tell you about it, I'll tell you about the story. If you don't know me and this is the first video you're watching of mine, welcome. I am an LGBTQ+ author and artist, and I write stories usually about characters who survive trauma. I guess survivors is kind of literal in this sense, but yeah, usually they're trying to find true love for the first time, and in this book, it's a little bit of an interesting twist. So a lot of people people know my romances, and this book is still a romance, believe it or not, but it is just as much a psychological thriller. So I find it a little challenging to categorize because sometimes romantic suspense, I feel like usually that means there's some danger or abuse within the main relationship, but with this one it's more of like they're in suspenseful, life-threatening situations and there's romance. So these two are secret lovers and they have to keep it a secret because basically it's like a forbidden romance. They're childhood best friends to lovers, to be exact, and they're stuck in this paramilitary cult. It says so right here, they are trying to escape the cult. And that's like, yeah, it says at the top, like, mortal danger, intimate, tender romance, a cycle of abuse to end, a paramilitary cult to escape. I just thought that that was very fitting, a great way to summarize it. But there's so many more details, even on this back cover, that I think are kind of like, what? Like, what's happening in this wild story? So it's dual perspective. This is Emily. And then this is Nico. So we follow both of their journeys in this story. They are forbidden from contact because they have a special connection. And the cult that they were born into, like their parents had them in, like their parents are part of the cult. The cult that they were born into is like this super brutal, patriarchal cult. Nico calls it a cult in particular, but it's like a paramilitary group. They are basically like working and raised as weapons for hire for the US's dirtiest of dirty jobs, as in violent. But I don't get into violence in particular in this book. Like, it's not described in the way that people would think, and that's because it really centers around their emotions. And the reason why I want to do that is because, first of all, their parents are brainwashed leadership in this cult. So not that they're not siblings, they are best friends. They have separate sets of parents who are each in the cult already and part of the leadership in the cult. So not only are they stuck once they realize, like, oh no, we are the bad guys, basically, they also have family ties in there, and they know firsthand what happens to traitors if they decide to leave. So if they dissent, they die. It's not just like about their life, it's like, it is dire straits. So Nico is also a son of executioner, so like a lot of people are expecting him to be the next version of his parents, but even better because they're a powerhouse couple. But because he has PTSD and is like very dissociative symptoms, he sells this image of himself that he's like an emotionless killer to kind of blend in. He does it a little bit too well, so people really believe him. But Emily, on the other hand, who we get her perspective as well, has a sixth sense. So she has like a supernatural ability to empathically be able to feel and sense vividly other people's emotions. And she knows Nico's secret that he is like actually a crybaby. And so on the inside, and he absolutely hates violence, so she really gets him, and that's very important in this story. Unfortunately, because she has chronic illnesses and her parents don't want her involved in the group that Nico gets involved in, which is more of like direct terrible situations, they're separated even though they absolutely adore each other, and they have a group of 4 queer friends that they all absolutely love each other. These two are both my bisexual icons, so that's why I mentioned the queer friends part. Because they're separated and her parents don't want her to be involved, they basically deem her useless because Emily has POTS and she also has just various forms of dysautonomia. So she doesn't like that. Nico sees her as like a lion-hearted hero, but no one else does in this society. So she wants to prove her worth, and she decides like, okay, I'm pissed off about everything that's happening and I feel stuck here. I'm just gonna have to work with this. So she tries to sabotage a cult leader's drug trial all on her own, like solo mission, because she feels like she's suspicious of him. So what she doesn't know is that that cult leader is actually Nico's sexual abuser. And so she has no clue how ruthless and horrible this person is until it is too late. So when Nico's abuser ends up turning on not just them, but the entire world, they can't escape the cult anymore because it's everywhere. All while this is happening, they're trying to connect and reconnect. It seems like the whole world just is determined to separate them, and like the universe universe. With all that being said, I know I just spit out a huge summary for you, but this is because it's like a pretty wild book in my opinion. Like I tried to add a lot of dynamic pieces in it, and part of what I think was really fun about it and kind of heartbreaking is that it didn't have to happen this way. Like a lot of things, like one thing led to another with this domino effect that happened. Everybody makes decisions that influence each other, including like side characters that totally change the course of not just like these two's life, but like everybody. So that is what I found really fun to write about. It took a lot of words, especially to get both of their unique perspectives, because I think that like I wanted to write about ableism, I wanted to write about Nico struggles with trauma as a man who is raised to be, or like he starts off as a boy and we follow them over a long period of time. But he was raised with a lot of toxic masculinity. He thankfully has friends who are in the queer community, and that's what guided them to be like, oh no, we are the bad guys, because they realized discrimination exists and what they're doing to the world. Between these two different perspectives, it really added to different parts of the story, like gender role wise and within certain situations that are specific to things that happen. Like even though this is a psychological thriller, romantic suspense, like fiction, it still relates to, I think, a lot of things that personally I understand and have witnessed, and I know other people who have as well that I really care about. So I wanted to chat about that, including like medical experimentation, which I personally experienced. I've mentioned that in other videos. Gone wrong. People think like a lot of the time it goes well. Also just general effects of ableism, and like when these people put in power have a lot of power and they have no limits put on them, what can end up happening. I'm very nervous and excited for this one. I have some illustrations in this one as well if you're familiar with my other books, so I don't want to spoil them too much. I'll give you like little peeks at the first two, because that was Emily, teenage Emily, and here's like the very first one. There's like some illustration. I turned this frame away so that you couldn't see the spoiler, but I loved it so much that I printed it out. I have a couple that I want to print out and put on my wall back here, so I'm excited about that. But I wanted to give you some background too on formatting these things too, because I think for readers, like, they don't always get all that info, but since I am doing it all myself, I think it's kind of fun to learn. Like, I would be curious, but then again, I like doing this stuff, so if you're curious about how I format these, I've kind of created somewhat of a template for myself with my other books of being like, okay, I like this spacing in the margins, like, because I have to make all those decisions about like how much space goes here, how do I want this to be structured, what font do I want to use, how close should it be to each other. So thankfully that a lot of that was like figured out pretty well from publishing other books recently. I had a lot of fun with making the title pages. I can give you a closer and longer look at it. This is just a silhouette of the cover, kind of, except the target is moved above their heads. There is actually a hidden meaning within this cover that I'm not sure that people will get, so I'm curious if by me saying that by the end of the book you might be able to understand this one a little bit more. But I think as it is, I just really wanted it to look like they're the ones being targeted, even if it looks really militaristic, because it's not like they're enjoying their time there, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to seem like they are hyping up something that they're not. Also, yeah, the little chapter headers in here, it has the same font as on the cover. This one right here for survivors that I split in half with the colors. I also use the same font for my little name right here. Something special that I usually don't mention, but I probably should, is that I had to make a whole new imprint for this one as well. So that's this one right here, and the Cycle books. This is the little logo for it, and End the Cycle. I didn't know what to name this imprint for a long time. This is like a psychological thriller imprint for my little mini publishing house I made for myself. I chose this at the very last second pretty much because it's something that is very important in this book. So as you'll start to read, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about, but basically, like, it's on the back here, like a cycle of abuse to end. There's a plan made where they see what has been going on generationally and they want to end it. I kind of mimicked the Target symbol, but it's supposed to be like, when I think of cycles, I think of circles. So it's kind of like there's a bunch of little circles like all wound in and connected with each other, and like a knife is coming in and just tearing them apart. And if you know, like once you meet Nico, you'll know he's my knife boy. I've talked about that on Instagram before. So it's supposed to be like Nico's knife like tearing down the side like that. So I had a lot of fun with that, and I think that it will probably be impactful. Like even if I write other books that are psychological thrillers, I feel like they'll have the same kind of element to them, because I really love to write about that. So I feel like it will be fitting, even if it's not the same exact meaning of what this and the cycle quote means to the characters in this book, but it becomes a very important quote. On the romance side of things, since we usually talk about romance on this channel, I think that this is honestly one of the deepest love stories I have ever written, and I actually wrote My Shy Alpha as a challenge for myself to try to write like a love story that could match this one, like reach the heights that this one does. This one has a special place in my heart. The way that I handled the trauma part is like intentionally not describing the physical acts of abuse. There's only some instances where a character like drugs another character or something, not in a like sexual way, it's like in this medical experimentation way, like obviously. So that's where that's coming from, and I think that can be triggering, but it's not in the sense of like you witness as many acts of violence or something as I would see in other thrillers. So I feel like for romance audiences it might still be digestible, even though it's thrilling. I've heard that it's a roller coaster from beta readers. Personally, it has made me feel very emotional because it gets into the details, and because all these things could have been avoided if there's just like one little choice was made differently or something. I think that's kind of the tragedy part of it. As with all my books, it has a happy for now or happily ever after type of ending. I won't spoil which one, just in case you feel like that's a spoiler. You might have heard me talk about this in the background of why I started to write in general, but I started writing with this story, but it wasn't this story. Like, I started writing my comic that I then changed and shifted into what is now Soul Survivors, and that took 10 years. So when I said 10 years at the beginning of this video, I really meant it. It has gone through so many revisions, but I think at the heart of it, I kind of achieved, I feel like, what I really wanted to when I first tried to write this, and the reason why I kept rewriting it. I'm gonna film another video. I don't know if I'll put it out before or after this, but I was gonna tell you about books that I've scrapped, and one of them is this one. I completely rewrote this one after scrapping it as a comic, scrapping it as a novel, and then just multiple revisions from there. But it really helped me grow as a person. So I think that's why it's so hard for me to realize that this is actually happening. If you look closely, it says book 1 on the cover, so there's going to be 3 books is what I have planned. I've already almost finished book 2, but it's not like I leave things to happen in book 2, but it's not going to be like a frustrating like, oh my god, cliffhanger thing. It's not like that. It's like there's a resolution to what happens in this book that needs to be resolved. And I made sure with like multiple people, my editor, so I can't wait for you to see it and hear what you think about that. I'm sorry in advance. Because I feel like it is it's like an emotional roller coaster, but in my favorite way, because I think it feels cathartic. Anyway, I feel like I blabbed on about this because I'm super excited, but thanks for unboxing Soul Survivors with me. I hope you liked hearing some insight into my thoughts and some of the choices I made for this book. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, then make sure to press like and subscribe, because I post videos. I'm gonna try to keep posting every Saturday. The reason why I paused is because I had to get this out. So my new caveat to this should be every Saturday except when I'm publishing a book, like in the final stages, because I had to take like a month off, which was not intentional, but things happen. So thanks for your patience on that. I'm also going to be doing a book signing at the Romance Era. Right now we're discussing a date that is very close to the publishing date, which is October 15th. So keep an eye out for that if you're in the Pacific Northwest near Vancouver, Washington, or Portland, Oregon in particular. And again, I'm hosting a virtual book signing here, usually at those types of virtual book launch parties. I will be reading an excerpt from the book. I'll be doing a Q&A, so you're welcome to ask me any questions about like this book or writing or me or any. It's usually just a fun time, like we get to all chat together, and then I will start to sign orders from my website or Etsy. I'll randomly select only a few of them to be signed live on the stream. So it'll be kind of like a book signing plus like a raffle of sorts, I guess. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I always look forward to that. I can't wait to see you there, and I hope you're having a great day. Okay, see you!